Camp Lejeune is a massive Marine Corps base and training facility on the North Carolina coast. Camp Lejeune was opened in 1942, and over 1 million men, women, and children have lived and worked on the base over the years. Unfortunately, all of these former residents and employees may have been exposed to harmful, cancer-causing chemicals in the Camp Lejeune water supply. Testing and studies by the CDC have determined that from 1953 to 1987, the water supply at Camp Lejeune was contaminated with dangerously high levels of toxic chemicals, including TCE, PCE, and benzene. All three of these chemicals have been linked to certain types of cancer, and studies on Camp Lejeune residents have found abnormally high rates of both cancer and spinal birth defects. Thousands of veterans and civilians who lived or worked at Camp Lejeune have developed cancer and other health conditions. So far, however, none of the victims of the Camp Lejeune water contamination have been able to get compensation for their injuries. North Carolina has a strict 10-year statute of repose. By the time the toxic water at Camp Lejeune was uncovered, more than 10 years had passed and the victims were barred from bringing civil lawsuits. This may be about to change. Congress is on the verge of enacting a new federal law called the Camp Lejeune Justice Act. The act would allow Camp Lejeune victims to avoid the North Carolina repose statute and file civil lawsuits in federal court. The Camp Lejeune Justice Act was merged into a larger bill called the PAC Act, which was passed by the House of Representatives in March by a vote of 256 to 174. On June 16th, the Senate passed a slightly amended version of the PAC Act by a vote of 84 to 14. The bill was sent back to the House for approval of the amendments added by the Senate. Final approval of the PAC Act was held up by an issue regarding the constitutionality of a tax provision added by the Senate. This prevented the bill from being passed before the July 4th congressional recess, but the issue is expected to be resolved quickly when Congress returns next week, and the PAC Act should be signed into law before the end of this summer. The mass tort lawyers at Miller & Zois are currently seeking new cases from anyone who served at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1987 and was subsequently diagnosed with cancer or other health conditions that may have been related to the contaminated water.